3, 2, 1.
Here we go!
Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to 15 Minutes of Fame with Dawn Branch. Tonight, we have a wonderful special guest, my friend, Mr. Peter Anthony Moore. Welcome to the show, sir.
Hi.
So before we dive in and find out about his journey and his life and his success, I have some sponsors to thank. So I'd like to thank TwinkleToesApparel.com for being a wonderful sponsor for this month. They are located in Atlanta, Georgia. And if you need any dancewear, leotards, ballet slippers, she's the one to go to, TwinkleToesApparel.com. Thank you. So, Peter, welcome to the show. This is crazy. I'm so excited.
This is wonderful.
I know. I haven't seen the audience. I haven't seen this man since 19 blah, blah, blah.
Right?
Right? So welcome to the show once again. My first question that I always ask my guests is who is? So who is Peter Anthony Moore? And go.
I have to first say that Peter Anthony Moore is a dancer first. I have to say that I remember I was walking in Soho and it was Christmas time, and I looked up and I saw this man looking like the Grinch coming out of cab. And sure enough, when I got closer, it was Jeffrey Holder. And I went to move quickly because he was pulling out a lot of bags. I knew he was going to ask me to help him. So I went to run. And he said, Peter. So I turned around. He goes, how are you, son? Come help me with these bags. And it's funny how life imitates art, or art imitates life. Because he looked exactly like the Grinch.
Thank you.
With the bags and all the Christmas stuff and his scarves. You know how Jeffrey is, right? He goes, how are you doing? I said, I'm fine. He goes, are you dancing? And I was like, no, well, I'm not dancing. He goes, no, don't you ever say that. You are a dancer and you were always dancing through life. You remember that. And I was like, okay, thank you. You know, I helped him. Bags got him out the street, but I always remembered that. It always stuck with me because, you know, later on in life, I started acting and, you know, drawing, and I've done so many other things, you know, but my base root, you know, is I am a dancer. I am an artist. I am a vessel of God. I am the salt of the earth. I am a shaman. You know, I am that.
Okay. We can talk about all of that. That's wonderful. And I didn't even know those things. So we'll go through that. So since you started with dance, let's start there. Were you introduced to dance? Like, how did that happen for you?
Oh my gosh, it was so funny. Just like the chorus line story, my sister was taking classes at Miss Adele's down in Queens. I went in peeking in the class, and the teacher was like, oh, who is he so cute? And but I couldn't join. But she did say to me, because she knew I like to play football. I used to always play football over there. She was like, there was a famous Joe Namath, he studied ballet, and that's why he's such a good football player. And that stuck in my head. I was like, really? Because I thought I was going to be a football player, believe it or not, and because I was good at football. But then my sister switched to Dance Explosion on Linda Boulevard, and she was in there, and she wasn't really that good. And her best friend, which I had a crush on, I used to practice with her, and her best friend was like, you should come by the school and maybe look inside the door, and, you know. So I came by the school one day while they were dancing, and Adrienne Brown was in there teaching the class, and I was outside the door doing the combination.
Right.
So she came to the door and was like, wait a minute, you know this? And I was like, yeah. She's like, how do you know that? And I was like, you know, Patricia taught it to me. And That's where it all began. Adrian
Yes.
was like, oh no, this little boy, I'm bringing him in. I ended up being like the only boy in the dance school at that time. And I was older though. It was about time for me to go into high school already. But
Oh,
Adrian was like, he is too cute. I am gonna, so she was
right.
pushing, pushing, pushing. And she brought, that
Okay,
was
so
it.
you started later on in life. So that's interesting. I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just
So,
before I auditioned for the High School Performing Arts.
right, and that's what my next question was. So was it Miss Adrian that helped you with your routine and
Yeah.
all of that? Okay, so now I'm just gonna ask because it's gonna be funny. Do you remember the song? Do you remember the dance? Was it jazz?
You
What
know
was it?
it. Because first of all, I had just started dancing.
Right. So the
And
comedy that's
so,
going on in my head right now was Leroy from Fame.
and
So was
that's
that
exactly who I was. I
okay?
went in there with my little dancing school shirt on and my gym shorts from 231. And I and, and my song was Shame. Shame. Ooh, nothing to do, ooh, and what you do to me is a shame. Ooh.
Yes.
I was in
What?
the Leroy. And
Fun.
I went to the front, at the end. I looked up and like, it looked like, I remember, it's like everyone was holding in their laughter, like, oh my God, like,
Oh,
like, and I remember Miss Frank was like, well, yeah, I know. When I asked her, she said, darling, do you know that we don't have
this.
jazz at
I'm sorry. Okay, go ahead. I'm
she
sorry.
was like, the things that you said you studied, we don't have jazz African at this school. Have you ever studied modern dance? I was like, no.
That Miss Penny Frank.
He was like,
Oh,
have you ever studied ballet? I was like, no. I had just started dancing that summer. So then Miss Joe was like, let's give him a chance and have him come to the callback or whatever. So in the callback, me and my little smart self took stuff that they used in the audition and incorporated that into my shame routine. So now the second time when I came back and did the shame routine, I took steps from them. Cortez, McKay, and Miss Frank and them were hollering. They were like, now that's not the same routine.
right.
I created the routine, honey.
I love you, Peter. But this is it, and this is why I love this show so much because it's
Yeah,
really I have kids on here who watch and learn and listen. That there's nothing too crazy.
right,
It's like if you want something, you gonna go and get
right.
it. So
You
Peter, that's
go and
awesome.
get it. And Cortez, I remember he pulled me aside and was trying to tell me, like, because like we know you stole the steps from the when we get, like do what you did last time. And I was like trying to play it off like, nah, whatever. But
I love that
I
story.
know.
Thank you so much. Okay, so now you obviously made it because you were in the school, high school performing arts. You get the letter, your first day. Something that they don't tell you though, you got to choose like that. What is it? Ballet A or not ballet? Like what is
Oh
it
my
called again? Group
goodness.
A, Group B. They don't warn you about that.
Well, you better hold your tears because I think I'm about to drop one on you. Hold your tears. Well,
Oh,
since I made it, I was like, okay, well, I'm here now. So I'm coming in here. Well, there was this one boy in the dressing room that was like, well, I'm going to help you. I was like, well, I don't need your help, whatever. He was like, I think you do. Just follow me, follow me. So I was like, okay, Ricky. So we get in
oh,
and I am following Ricky at the bar, but I'm on the other side of the bar using the inside leg.
yes,
I'm holding my face up like I know what I'm doing. And Ricky's looking at me,
yes.
just follow me, just do what I'm doing.
Oh,
I'm thinking
Ricky.
I'm following him, but I'm using the inside leg at the bar. Miss Malinka was like, okay, A group. I was like, oh, why?
So, wait, explain to the audience what the A group and the B group. Explain to the audience. Oh my God. So dancers, Peter's gonna explain the difference between once you get into performing arts, how they group you. So go
Well,
ahead,
the
Peter.
A group is for students that didn't have any formal training, basically. And the B group is for those students that have formal training. And their ballet classes and everything are a little bit more advanced. And the A group is very basic.
Yes, capital B.
Yeah.
Capital B
So,
basic. All
yeah.
right. So yeah, so you went in and the reason why as the audience we had a dance friend named Ricky who passed. And so thank you for honoring his name. Shout out
Yeah.
to Ricky. Awesome. All right, so now you're in PA, you're moving up. At what point did you find out I'm really kind of good at this stuff? Like I got my tilt, I have feet, I can turn. So what happens in your developing stage and who brought that out, do you think, of the teachers at PA? Like who really invested in you in that?
Well, the thing that really did it was when they brought in the people from the musical or chorus line.
Oh,
They brought in those people to the school to visit us, and they brought the top classes together. I think I was a junior, so it was the juniors and the seniors and some invited graduates. And I could not believe that at the end of the whole process, the chorus line people said that if anybody of all the guys in here, we think he's destined to Broadway and he could play Richie. They picked me and this other girl in my class named Emily, who was an Asian girl. She was fierce. That did it. That
wow.
moment, I couldn't, I just, I couldn't
Wow,
believe
man.
it. I couldn't believe it. I just like, I didn't
That's
see
awesome.
that. And then I looked up to my classmates like to the boom, ziggity
Of
booms
course, they were all of them were
that I came up
amazing.
with. So I didn't think that I compared to them at all.
Hmm.
That was the moment where I knew it was like, wow. And then they brought in a guy to film the I Love New York commercial. And he picked me to be in the center and start the commercial with Barishnikov.
What? Peter, I don't
Yeah.
remember. Okay, I don't know all of this. This is great information. So
Yeah.
you,
Do
oh,
you
did he?
know they honored me? They let me be in the dressing room with him. PA. Can you imagine?
Wow,
My little heart.
Peter.
Yes. That was
Miss
just like,
Adrienne Brown must be so proud. Oh my
oh, you
Lord.
already know.
Oh
You already
wow.
know.
And now let me just ask, I know she had her school. Did you go back and were you teaching with her? Like, did you, or were you just, once you graduated, you were just off the professional world? Like, what happened
Well,
after you graduated?
after I graduated, yeah, my career did take off and then it just went rolling, rolling, rolling along.
Yeah.
And I was on a woof, it was going, going, going. And every time I came back, I tried to go, visit Adrian, of course. Wherever she
Yes.
Sotas, I go over there because, Donna and Wendy and Kerry is like blood family,
Oh, okay. Good. Okay. Yes.
So I would go back and try and do sometimes,
Very nice.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay. That you ended up being in Ailey. So how did that happen for you after high school?
Now it's just too funny. I went to North Carolina School of the Arts, and oh my gosh, that really just blew up the bubble
Yeah.
because I tell you, Richard Gain,
Mm-hmm.
that with the level of the Graham technique and the way that he nurtured us was like his own children.
Yeah.
And I came out of there. Well, actually, while I was in school, I had a big scholarship, and then my scholarship ran out, and it was nothing I could do. And Sylvia called my dorm room and asked me,
Okay, so you have to say the whole name because we have people who don't know who that is.
okay, Sylvia Waters called my dorm room. She is the artistic director for the Alvin Ailey Repertory Ensemble. She called my dorm room and asked me what was going on and whatever. She said that Alvin wanted to know if you wanted to join on the second company. And he was like, I know that you're a quick learner and we can just start you out and fill you in. And, you know, school, I couldn't stay in school with my scholarship, you know, and so I left North Carolina School for the Arts and I went straight on the road.
Wow.
I went straight on the road. And Alvin, my very first job was humongous, South Carolina Coliseum. And, you know, he had me doing cinnamon and, you know, like I just learned it in the dressing room. And the guy's like, come on, Peter, you could do it. We in the wings for you and all of that. My heart was
Wow.
racing. I ran out there on that stage and just a ball of fire.
So,
And
mhm.
all I could just, the thing about it was Alvin showing up like hugging me, you're okay, like you're in good hands, I got you.
Yes.
You know, and that sealed it for me. I knew like he had my back and that I was safe. I left school and he was like, we got you.
Oh,
You
that's
know,
amazing. So, were
yeah.
you ever on the scholarship through high school? Did you do that whole high
Yeah,
school
oh, please. The first year, getting ready to go into the second
10th
year
grade?
PA where they're like, okay, this is the fame speech. Either you're gonna they were like, Mr. Moore, we
So
first
wait,
of all,
tell the audience about what that is. So after to graduate, listen, it's a mess. Peter, set it up for us. Set it up. Oh,
maybe. Well, the thing of it is you gotta stay in. I don't know if they're still doing that at LaGuardia, but at the performing arts, the high school performing arts, there was a cut. You can get
they
cut.
would line those chairs up.
They
It was
would
almost like, and if 10 people came in the room and there's only 9 chairs, you like, oh boy.
right. So my first 2 years of PA, no, it ends at the last quarter of freshman year. So my whole freshman year, I was always in that group. And they were like, Mr. Moore, we noticed that you draw very well. And, and they were like, and we heard that you auditioned for art and design. And we can see if we can get you in there.
Kids, you have no idea. Oh my God. Okay.
And then they were like, you have too many activities. You're going to this outside dancing school. We found out you're playing football. You know, you came in with injuries before from playing, and you know you're not caught up with the rest of the guys. If you don't make a drastic change by the end of the summer, we cannot let you into sophomore year. And they were like, and you have a pot belly.
I don't
And
want to
so
laugh. I'm sorry.
they were like, we spoke to your parents and they told us that you go to Barbados every summer. So they was like, are you going to Barbados this summer? Because if you go to Barbados this summer and you come back heavier, we cannot accept you in the school. I was devastated.
And mind you, audience, this is in front of everybody. It's not like a one-on-one. This is like,
Right.
yeah.
So I was like, Mom, I cannot go to Barbados this summer with my brother and sister. I have to stay home for the summer and train.
Yes.
So I went to try and get a scholarship for the thing. When I went to try and get a scholarship, I was the laughing stock of the thing. All the men was like, oh, look at the little boy. He's so cute. Because it was men back then.
Yes.
There was
Yes.
like, and even the staff was like, oh, well, let him go through to the end. And they were laughing at me and whatever, you know. And finally at the end, when there was like, he was so cute. And I came out the men's golf alley crying. to run into PA folks that hate me.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, if this is not a story, I come out on Miss Garfelli. They're the guys from school that hate me. Oh, oh, you thought you was gonna make it? Oh, sorry, you thought you was fierce. I went home crying. I was like, what am I gonna do this summer?
Right, because everybody's gone.
And
Oh, no.
there was like, so Miss Jefferson called my home.
Oh,
and
wait,
told me-
set that up. Some people don't know who Miss Jefferson is.
Miss Jefferson became the school director for Alvin Ailey. And she was really, she became everyone's mom, second mom. She definitely turned out to be my second mom. But
Oh,
she
wow.
called me at home and told me that one of the foreign students' visa wasn't working or whatever. And although you weren't good in the audition, we heard that there was
So
that
maybe.
you're not good enough to be on the scholarship.
Right.
And we'll give you one class. You could take one class a week. You could take that with Miss Penny Frank, and that's that, because you're not good enough to take the rest of the classes. And
She lets you know that. Keep that in mind. Oh, wow.
you're not really on stuff. So then when I came in and I came into Miss Frank's class, Alvin came in and was like, how you doing? Da, da, da. What are you doing after the classes? And I was like, hanging out in the street. He was like, okay, no, absolutely not. We're going to give you another class. I want you staying inside the building. I do not want you running around Times Square. I was like, okay. And then it built from there to eventually, like, I was a straight scholarship student. But when I got back to PA, the whole school, the teachers, everybody was like, oh my God, what happened to you over the summer? And once I was in there with big folks and company members from all over the world and stuff like that. And I didn't know what I was in. And when I got back to school, everyone was like, wow. Like,
Wow.
I had really improved, like,
That is
through the
awesome.
roof.
So while I'm gonna try to show some pictures now. See if we can find a picture of you and Miss J. And also some pictures of you, right? So while I'm doing that, see if you can remember some of the names of the teachers at Ailey that helped inspire you, and what kind of classes were you taking, and how are they different from the ones at PA?
Well, the thing about it is that Miss Lavinia Williams was like my grandmother. It was a different environment. I was a kid living in a rough home. So they could tell that when I came into school. So Lavinia Williams was very grandmotherish. She was trying to teach me the culture, Dunham, and stuff like that, and the basics of stretching and stuff like that, because I was tight. I used to play football.
Yeah.
So Lavinia Williams, and then Denise Jefferson too filled the gap with me hanging out in the street.
Okay. So now here's a photo. So what is this?
She would be like,
Can you see this?
Come by the house. Oh my God, I love that picture of me and Miss.
So where were you guys? Set this up. Where were you? And
we were at the plaza. Now, see, that's what I'm telling you. That's the funny thing about these stories is what I'm telling you. Alvin was like, Peter, do you have a ticket for the show? And I was like, no, I don't. He was like, you can come and sit with me. I was at the plaza sitting at the daggone table with Alvin. When I sat next to Alvin, everybody was Miss Judith Jameson and everybody.
So who's this and what are you doing?
Oh,
well, I know who this is.
Now this woman right here makes dreams come true. See, these are the kind of stories I want to talk about. See now. Well, I had a big, humongous, giant gig with George Faison. It was the reopening of 98.7 KISS on the radio. It was at Madison Square Garden. And I assisted George in the piece, and I danced with Maya Angelou to her song, to her poem, Men Are Like Trees. So I did this solo and I did this dance and everything. And I also assisted George with all the musical stars and everything. So after the job was over, George had me like, okay, get the costumes in the back of the car. Come on, And I just was like, oh, he was like, we're going to go get something to eat. And I was like, no, you know what? I just want to go home. Like, leave me. And he was like, no, you're going to go. So we pulled up, we dropped the costumes off. I'm rushing to leave. He's like, Peter, go in there and get something to eat. Dawn, when I turned the corner, I had on my dance back clothes from the show, dirty warm-up clothes. When I turned the corner, when you talk about every musical giant turned around and was looking at me with Maya Angelou sitting in the middle, I was like, oh. So I put my head down at the table and I just started making a plate. And I heard this voice said, you were so wonderful tonight. And I looked up and it was Lynn Whitfield, and she leaned forward and gave me a kiss.
Wow.
She was like, okay, make your plate. We sitting over there. Come sit with us.
What?
Yeah, that was like, oh. So
wow.
She was like, you were so handsome tonight. And you did and then we got over there, and our relationship grew because of George Faison, through the years, like the attachment. So in that picture, that was opening night of Lion King. So when she came, she said, oh, at least I got my date for the night.
Yes. Okay, so we're going to get to Lion King after we go through these photos, sir. So where are you and who are these people?
Oh my gosh, this is the television series Fame.
Oh, you were on that, Peter? I didn't know that.
Yes.
Oh, wow. Okay.
That was one of those moments where I was gonna mention where you said I felt like, oh my God, I made it. That was one of,
because with the top hat and all, honey. You done made it with the top hat. Okay, who's this?
That's backstage at Lion King, my buddy Ashi and Don Cheadle from not Don Cheadle, Don Knotts.
Don Knotts, yeah, Don Cheadle's a whole nother.
He was on,
Yeah, yeah. So everybody with all the stars would come back to
see you. Spike too. He didn't know when he came to Lion King. We ran into each other after the show. And he was like, you're going to go to the after party? I was like, okay, wait, you don't have a ticket? Oh, shoot. So I was like, all right, well, so then we came in together. And it's so funny, when we got in there, you see the two girls on the side? They were like, the Africans. They were like, Peter, who is that? They was like, is he famous? Let's get in the picture with him. They didn't even know. Neither did the kids.
Right.
Peter, who is that? And I was like, don't worry, just let's take a picture together.
Oh, look at you.
Oh! There was this little rapper out called Little Roxy back in the day from Queens. She was a little rapper on her way out. Anyway, I was working on her choreography and
good for you.
Her together, and the photographer did those photos for me.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Oh, he's speaking of rap.
Yes.
So did you do her choreography? Okay, tell everybody who this is.
Lil Mama. Now, think of it is I was the star. I'm doing the slave play, huge, that we were pitching it. I was playing Nat Turner, believe it or not. I know, huge. So I go in the deli on the side, in the corner, and all this people are in there and everybody, and they're like, oh, he's like, you one of the actors? And I was like, yeah. And then she came over and my buddy was like, Pete, you know who this is? And he picked up the camera and took the shot. He's like, yeah. So
was she big then?
Yeah, she came to, I think she was trying to look about getting into the Ma'afa.
Oh, we don't know who this is. Hey.
Oh my God.
Now,
George Faison, who I want to talk about later, is one of the great influences of my life. His husband, T. Schnud, passed away. And these guys have been touching the lives of entertainers from way back in the 70s. Michael Jackson, Earth, Wind and Fire, all the way up. Anybody that you talk to, they'd be like, oh yeah, I worked with T and George. So I knew that this thing was gonna be like just a reunion, and it surely was. Oprah, Mr. Cosby, everybody was there, but Tashina tore down the house. She didn't get up and do no comedy skit. She sang at that funeral like nobody. I mean, Stephanie Mills was there, Melba Moore, Roberta Flack, everybody. But can I tell you something? Tashina,
Right, Tashina.
oh, down. That woman can sing.
Yes, sir. Well, she went to our school. She went to music and art, but then when you had left by then.
Yeah.
So LaGuardia, yep.
I didn't know that she went to music and art. No
Yes.
wonder.
Well, right.
So she must have known Desiree. Oh my God.
Desiree. Yeah, I was trying to reach out to Desiree too.
Oh my goodness. My journey with Miss Vanessa Williams is so special.
Go ahead.
I got on the television show Ugly Betty, and some bad things happened with the wardrobe with me, and everyone was like, well, he's going to leave the show anyway. So it was like a really foul energy. So one day when the cameramans hit the camera into me jokingly, and so it was getting too far, but it really touched my heart, and I just couldn't believe that, wow, I'm on this show Ugly Betty and all this stuff is happening. So I slipped in between the side of the set to be alone where nobody could see me, and I slipped out. Baby, I looked over and I saw this foot and this heel step in behind the set, and she peeled in, and she leaned forward and she pointed her finger at me, and she was like, come here. She was like, don't you drop those tears. She goes, I see what happened. And she goes, look, what happened? What's happened to me? What's this? What did I have to go through? And funny thing, I watched her journey on Ugly Betty too, and it was ugly. They were dealing with her with some stuff too. She was like, so don't you cry, go take a break, dry your eyes, and you go right back in there on set. And I was like, okay. And then on my way home, somebody was dropping me home, and they said, Peter, look to your left. And I looked at the window, and she was in the SUV next to me in the car. She was like, she pointed at me, she was like, I'll see you tomorrow. And I was like,
so let's take a moment, because this is like a teaching show. I have students that dance, act, sing.
Yeah.
So how would you, I know that not everybody's going to have a Vanessa Williams come to them on the side of the set and say, dry those tears. But what would you suggest, or what would you say to a young person coming in, what to avoid, what to look out for, about the craziness that can happen with other cast members on shows? What advice would you give them?
Yeah, the thing about that is everybody's journey with that is going to be very particular. You know what I mean? Because there's all kinds of, there's the production team, you know what I mean? And then there's the cast members, and the production team can be a trip. They like to look at us as subjects, like toys, and so they like to play with us. And so you have to stay flexible so the director can get what he wants out of you. So that can be tiring. But the thing of it is, I would say never take it personal. Although some of the stuff really does hurt, and it is kind of personal, it's, you still have to not wear it on your sleeves, and move on, because all of the bad things and worst things that you could imagine is going to happen. This is it. This is the movie world. Like, my friend, he got his first Michael Jackson video. They had the loose tiger running around set. The tiger was jumping around on people on Michael Jackson's sister. Centipede, and the Tiger jumped on him during the set playing because it's a kitten. You know, to check his butt
Wow.
so much.
Wow. So
And
things are gonna happen. Don't take it
things are
personal.
going to happen that you would never think, and you have to get past that. Especially the girls. The girls, the girls just know that is it, and it's a bad nature of men, but that is it. And even nowadays, now it's even worse that a lot of people have taken the borders down. So there's like no holds bar. Somebody could be a pure teenager or even coming into their teenagers, and somebody could come and talk to them like they're some adult or something
Right.
because they're in their own little crazy world,
Sure.
and they're out of touch. So you can't take it personal. You have to
Okay.
really, really gain tough skin
Thank you.
and be
Okay,
smart about
so
it.
here you are in a
Oh,
contraction.
this is too funny. My first modeling shoot. It is too funny.
So wait a minute. So audience, are you catching this? He danced, he was acting, and now he's modeling. I can't with you, Peter.
No,
Okay.
but my modeling thing was real quick, and it was special. It was really special. I had a buddy named Epperson. My buddy Epperson, he's now famous.
Okay.
Um,
I'll take it.
Epperson was trying to get me going, and he hooked me up with this stylist. And when the stylist showed up with the clothes on, I was like, "Oh no, Epperson, get this out of my house! I can't."
But you
And
were
he was like,
snatched,
"Trust
honey.
him, trust him." I was like, "Oh no,
You
I
look
cannot."
fabulous.
I
All
got my
right,
new.
what's this? What's this? We got so much
Ah!
more to talk about.
Oh my God. Okay, I
Yes.
gotta tell you this story.
Yes.
So, it takes me forever to get my makeup off. So I am in my dressing room trying to get my makeup off at Lion King. And they're like, Peter, DMX is downstairs on stage. So I'm like, okay. When I got down there to DMX, it was like he just saw me, and the whole room froze. It was like all of a sudden it was just about me. He was like, my man. And he came over and hugged me, and everybody was looking like, and I just could not believe it. He was like, "Oh, you were so good." I was like, I really love his work and the way he came out and everything. So I was like, "Please, can you sign my book?" He was like, "Okay, okay." He was like, "So talk to me. Tell me about it. Tell me about it." So
That's deep. So
because of
let's
the attention that he was giving me,
mhm.
stage management was like, Peter, okay, can you hurry up with him because people want to go home. We want to close the stage, like whatever. And sparks went off. I was like, oh no, just because you don't know who he is, because the stage manager didn't know.
Oh,
Other
mm-hmm.
stars come that are backstage. I didn't know who they was. I was like, this is a star that I know.
That's right.
She was like, no, we're not. We're closing. I was like, no, we're going to open the wall, the wing. We have a wing that all the celebrities sign. I was like, he's going to sign that. You're going to wait, whatever. She was like, and he
Shout
was like,
out.
can you
Thank
show
you,
me
Peter.
around? And I
Thank
showed him
you.
around, and we exchanged information. And
That's
he was,
awesome.
that was so, I couldn't believe that he
Yeah.
me out of the show. When I got back
Speaking
to,
of speaking of the Lion King,
Mhm.
I have a few students who have questions for you
Yes,
about your participation in the Lion King.
yes.
So this is part of the show called Ask the Teacher. So let me know if you can hear this.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Taylor Mitchell. I'm 15 years old and I've been dancing for 11 years. Primarily, my focus in dance is technique, and my question is that what was the Lion King audition process like, and what does that exactly entails?
Well, any Broadway audition is very tough. It's the best of, they want the best of the best. So you have to know where you stand and where you are. At that time, I knew that there was not one guy in that room that could outdance me or outsing me. So I was like, I'm not leaving here until I get Simba. And I'm going to prove to you that none of these guys in here can dance like me or sing like me. And so my arrogance and pushing, Julie Taymor was like, oh, I think we found our Simba, because that's part of Simba's character. And that's how I got in the show. The dance, I really am primarily a dancer, but the dance auditions were over. And then once I got in the show, they said, oh no, he's too fierce of a dancer. We got to make him the swing so that he could hold the show for us. So I ended up being the swing at the Lion King. But I came in the Simba audition because I knew I was Simba at that time. The Broadway guys did not have the Black cultural sauce that I had, African dance. They didn't know the music like I knew it. And it wasn't about show tunes. It was time for them to sit down and get new flavor on Broadway.
Okay.
So you gotta know what you want, and you gotta know who you are.
That's
And sometimes you just gotta take it. That audition, I crashed the call.
Did you?
I did.
All right, here we go. Here's another one.
Yeah.
All right, here's another student of mine who has a question for you. Let's see.
Hi, my name is Tiana, and my question for you today is, what was your first reaction when you found out you're going to be a part of the Lion King cast on Broadway? Were you excited? Were you nervous? I would absolutely love to hear your response, and thank you.
Well, I was in a very rough situation. I was living in a projects like in Chinatown, and I had this cute little bird pet. His name was Romeo. And every time I got on the phone, he would want to talk in the phone too, and we picking in my ear and everything, and little Romeo was like my little only joy at the time, because I was in a rough time in my life, staying in those projects in, Chinatown. And so when the phone rang and I picked up the phone, I really couldn't believe what he said. And it was like Romeo was repeating it.
What?
And I was like, Romeo, would you stop? And he was like, congratulations, whatever. And I was like, wait a minute. And then they was like, hi, who is that? And they was like, Peter, is that a bird that you have with you? And I was like, yeah. They was like, did you hear what we just said to you? And I was like, I just couldn't, put my head around it. But then they said, but let's explain something to you. We're going to have to talk over your contract because we want you to come in. We have to explain something to you because actually what you did was kind of illegal. And
well, okay, let's talk about what you did that was illegal.
Well, what I did that was illegal was that it was a private call. I found out that the guys was going to the private call, which the agent puts aside time, puts things together, music. They know their clients, they know their music. They put that together for these guys that were going to be Simba, these guys that are stars on Broadway already. And so either way, they were going to put them in the show, like it was almost a definite given. And so I was not supposed to be in the room, and I broke in the room. And
sorry.
And then I started speaking out loud, interrupting. They threw a fit. They were about to call the police and arrest me, but Julie Taymor said, you can't do this. Julie Taymor was like, oh, please, it's no big deal. Stick him in the back of the room and let him go. Let's see what he can do. And it's only an hour. It doesn't matter, And at that point, I already knew I was going to bust those boys out because Garth Fagan was doing African type music. I already performed with Garth already. The song I grew up on. I started singing the song. Julie Taymor was like, oh my God, he knows that song. And I saw Garth whisper to her, he's from Barbados. That's Peter. Peter can dance. He's from Alvin Ailey. She was like, oh. So it was like, and then when the singing came, they wanted, most of the guys were from Broadway, so they brought a lot of show tunes and whatever, and Labo didn't want that. He was like, I want more African American sound and whatever. So I went in my music and pulled out a Michael Jackson song, came in there and killed it.
I
Had the
thought
whole
you were gonna say
room
you
on the
pulled
floor.
out shame. I thought you were gonna say you pulled out shame. Shame.
But it was, but I gave them Billie Jean and all that. The whole room was on the floor. They was like, this
Wait,
guy.
let's just walk this through. So, children, students of mine, what Uncle Peter did might not work out for you. Okay, so he had his own journey. Go ahead.
But the thing is that I learned from that too, and from 50 Cent. Sometimes, you know, if what you're saying, you know, it's a right move, you know, it's the right thing. Sometimes it's okay to take that risk. You know, I knew no matter what, that even if the Broadway crew did not, that felt like, you know what, okay, we have to respect the rules and get him out of here. He crashed this call. I knew that the real folks would have been like, oh, but later on, well, we had nobody in the cast like that. So now that it's, can we bring him back?
Right.
Can we do a non-union tour and bring us? I knew there was no way, because at that time, I was the first artist that was coming up with all the culture that we got from BJ's and Denny Zulu, and, you know, Denny
Shout out
Zulu
to
was my
BJ.
first, yeah. You know,
Okay.
Denny Zulu was the first day of Lion King. Denny Zulu was there setting the drums. And I remember him from dancing school.
Wow. Awesome.
So it was meant to be. So sometimes you got to push a little bit.
Yeah. I'm trying to understand why you weren't invited to the closed call. You were on Ailey with Ailey. You already knew Mr. Fagon. So how did you not hear about it?
What happened was,
What had happened was,
yeah, it was kind of a bad thing. What had happened was, just before that, they had offered me Grease to come in behind Billy Porter. And I really did not have those vocals, and they did not care. They was like, we love the way that you're doing it. But something in my soul, when I went home, I was really fast at that time. I learned the script, I learned all the songs and everything. But every time I went over the show for myself, something in me was hurting and wanted to cry. And it was like, every time I thought about the community that I came up with in the church and my kids that I teach, I didn't want to play the role. So by the time the first day of rehearsal came, I started crying at the piano.
What character was that? What character did they want you to play?
Teen Angel. I started crying because the reason why I took the job, immediately said yes, because I wanted to be the fly teen angel with my cat on, with my Cadillac, with all the fly girls around me. And they had turned Teen Angel into a church queen, you know, with a drag queen choir. And I'm from the church, and it was kind of offensive to me. Although when I watched the show, Billy Porter rocked it. It was really funny, and I wanted to be known as the comedic actor. But the church robe was really digging at my heart. I hated that, and I turned it down. So when I crashed the Lion King call, they were like, absolutely not. He's a pain in the behind. Peter, da-da-da-da. We offered him Grease, and he turned it down, da-da-da-da-da. You know, absolutely not. And that's why, you know, I was in trouble. Yeah.
So let's talk. You had mentioned you wanted to talk about Sir George. So how did you meet him? How did that all happen? And yes, how often did you work with him?
It's just funny, the same way how you don't think that you're good enough, or you don't think that you're one of the special ones. You know, I've never thought like that, you know, and George Faison came in. We were all excited about him. Alvin told us that he's going to do some special things with us, and he's going to do some commercial stuff with us, and we were all excited. And I didn't think I was like special to him. Next thing you know, George is using me to keep the show for him, you know, assist, help him with the choreography, like just on and on and on and on. And then years later, I joined a church that was kind of cultish.
Oh.
And I stopped performing altogether. I gained weight. I wasn't talking to anybody. I wasn't listening to the radio or watching TV. I was just reading my Bible all the time. I went to work, church, home, and I was getting heavy. And one day I was walking down a back street with my briefcase and rushing to the church because I was in the helps ministry. And I ran into George, and he was like, "Peter, what are you, what are you all fat and everything? What are you doing?" And I was like, "Well, I got to go to the church. I got to go clean." He was like, "Wait, hold on. You mean that same church that I'm going to?" I was like, he goes, "That little lady got you in there." He was like, "Well, I need you to do this thing for me. You can still tap." And,
Tap, you're like,
and of course, I love to tap, and George knew that. He was like, "I need you to kind of figure out." I was like, "Well, I can't. I'm working. I'm not dancing." He goes, so you done with the business now?" "Oh, really? Oh, really? Oh, really?" I was like, "George, I got to go." He was like, "No, you ain't going nowhere. You can come to my house at such and such time." So I get to George's house and I go walk into to his living room. And when I open the door, the first thing that I see on the mantle is the Tony Award. My heart was like, OMG, like, there it is, the Tony Award. I'm like, He's like, "Okay, come over here to the table. So let's work on these tap shoes."
wow.
And that from that day forward, because I was crying and everything, he's like, no, don't worry. I'm going to get you to do this thing. You're going to rehearse the thing. From that, George kept me. And then I assisted him with every show after that and casting everybody and and he pulled me right back to myself and gave me everything. I rehearsing them on every level, being in the show, assisting him, like everything, casting, everything. So I owe so much to him. I owe so much to George Faison. Like nobody. He poured into me like nobody's business.
You also had another mentor, though. We briefly talked about it before I started showing photos, and that was Mr. Alvin Ailey. And you used to help him. You worked with him with choreography as well. So let's talk briefly about that. How did that happen? And
it's funny. It's like almost like everybody always works with me kind of sneakily, but it was an amazing thing. It was, I think, the beginning of the summer, and all the kids and the new scholarship students were there and everything. And Alvin was like, "Peter, can I see you after lunch?" So he pulled me in the room and he started questioning me about what I wanted to do. So I told him, and it was, everything that I ended up doing, acting, singing, And he was like, "Oh, okay." And he goes, "Well, what is it like in Barbados? What is it like?" And he said, "What do you do when you think?" And so I told him, like, most of the time, I don't like to stay in the house because my family is drill sergeants. And I didn't like to kill stock. I don't like that. I don't like, but, as a guy in the family, you can't act squeamish and stuff. So if people be out here killing chickens, grab the knife, let's go, skin the chicken. So my uncle always used to be having me working all the time. So to avoid that, or, cutting down things and killing chickens and all that, I used to stay on the beach. I used to be in the water. I come back at home in the end of the day, I stay on the beach all day. So Alvin was like, "How is that when you're in the water? When you go down and when you put that aloe on your face?" And I was so little and had no idea what was happening to me. I was so, and I think that was the magic of it, where Alvin knew, because I was vulnerable. I had no idea that this was how big Alvin Ailey was. And he was like, "And so what do? You put it in your hair. Let me see you do it again. Do it 2 times." So then I would do it, and then he was like, "Yes," and I'll go down. So then next thing you know, he invites in a first company member, Murray. I forgot Murray's last name. Murray went to PA too. She was in Donna Edge's class. Murray came.
Shout out to Donna.
Right. So he put me together with Murray. And Murray started throwing her hair. And for me at that age, I was fascinated by her beauty. Alvin knew that. He used my innocence because I was totally fascinated, like by, wow, like she was a senior when I was a freshman. Now she's in the Ailey company and like, and so that's how he pulled it out. And he pulled out the whole ballet out of us. And then, believe it or not, he sent me to Cologne that summer for the summer festival to work with the ballet company that he actually set eventually the whole ballet on.
Wow.
So the two lead dancers, we spent the scholarship summer together with Fran. Fran was my little girlfriend. So, and so that's how we set Magica Caverna with Ralph Farrington. I wonder if Ralph Farrington is still alive. I don't know.
No,
But
wow, you have such stories, Peter. I mean, oh my gosh. We could go on and on and on. I'm gonna have to have you back on the show. This is even
I mean, the thing is, that's why I said, there's so much to say.
Yes.
There is so much to say and so much that the kids need to know. You know what I mean? I know we said we want to keep it good and stuff like that, but sometimes they got to know about I told you I'm the salt of the earth. Sometimes they got to know about the salty stuff because, like what happened to me with Greece and that whole process. Because bottom line is, you have to know who you are and your value. And, and never come off of that. Never let nobody take that away from me. You know what I mean?
Amen.
After I had gotten Lion King, the show was running. We're on Broadway. The show is set. We're on Broadway. I'm in the middle of the aisle, swinging a kite, singing, doing the show. And the same guys that wanted me did not want to have the show, those agents came out and stood in the middle of the aisle, stood in front of me and looked at me while I was performing. And you know what I did? I sang the song and danced all around them and wind up my waist and was like, because brother man, you just learned a big lesson. Although you tried to stop me for political reasons, my gift will carry me before great men. You can't stop that. You tried to stop it with all your political stuff and it didn't work.
Amen.
Okay, and although I didn't get cast as Simba, I was still Simba. I was the fuel of the show. I was the battery for the show. So you gotta sometimes, push through that. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Well, we will have you back, and maybe we can call it tutorials with Peter Anthony Moore. What to do and what not to do.
Right.
Sir, I am so proud of you. I've learned so much about you today that I didn't know. Before we go, what's up for you next? What are you doing? If anyone wants to reach out to you to do classes or workshops, how do they contact you?
Well, right now I'm working with a great organization through Talented Unlimited High School, and they're connected with the community. And so it's really wonderful. My next big goal, I want to do the Black Wall Street story. I want to do it tapped out through tap dance. So telling the story through tap. So I'm trying to build that together and focusing on my artwork because I've always been an artist.
I know you weren't prepared for this, but do you have any artwork you want to quickly show us before we go?
Sure. I do. Let's see.
Oh, and then also the Alvin Ailey poster. Yes.
Poster. I don't know if you can see it, if the shine is too much.
Is it like mine? Yes. Beautiful. Can you bring it in? It looks like there are autographs on there.
Everybody's autograph is on there. Judith Jameson, Donna Wood, Alvin Ailey, Renee Robinson, Chucky S., Gary DeLoach, Danny Clark, Maya Kachawari, Marilyn Banks. Everybody's on here.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, and so, you know what? This is a cute little piece. I'll show you this cute little piece.
Okay.
And then we can go. Because I think you can, it's very Dawnish.
How is it Dawnish? But that's gorgeous.
Isn't
yes.
Cute?
Beautiful. That's not cute, that's exotic, honey. That is a whirlwind.
Yes, and you can turn her any way.
Yes. You can send that to me. You can be a sponsor for the show. I'll have it pinned right back here. Yes, sponsored by Peter Anthony Moore. Well, we
Yes,
love you, sir.
love you too.
Yes, and
This
thank
was
you so much for
wonderful.
wasn't it fun? Thank you so much for saying yes. And please come back to the show. Guys, the one and only, the dancer first, artist, tapper, singer, actor. Also, he's a minister almost in his own right. We love you. And before we go, I forgot. Shout out to Patrice. Because, right? That was my sister. Patrice, we love you. I hope you come on the show. Anyway, back to you, Peter. Sorry about that. It's like a family reunion. I don't know how to hang up.
That's my girl, Patrice.
No, all right. I love you. Please keep working. Keep in touch with me and come back on the show. Thank you. 15 Minutes of Fame with the one and only Peter Anthony